So I do have one last question for you, Olga. So Father Brian Massingale, who is an African American priest and theologian, he seems to have been like a really important interlocutor for you in recent years. And Father Brian talks about like the place of hope in African American freedom movements, um, and in particular in ways that I think like resonate with your work. He talks about hope as an inner orientation of the human spirit that like moves us to work for a future that isn't guaranteed despite obstacles. So a situation in which we feel hope responsibly, what he would say responsibly, is one in which we feel that human beings can make a difference, that we have a sober view, that things could go either way, um, and that we see at least the seeds of the future that we desire in the present or in the past. And so, like, if that with that framing in mind, I'm wondering, like, one, like, what gives you hope about our current struggle for racial justice, and if at all, what gives you hope in the church as a meaningful partner in that struggle?
Yeah, that's two really wonderful questions. So first, what gives me hope in just the racial justice efforts that I'm seeing in the United States and all across the world, what gives me hope about those movements is just seeing how many young people are grappling with ideas and concepts that I am just now grappling with as a 30-year-old woman or 31-year-old woman who wrote a book, and the book propelled her to start thinking about these things very critically. And seeing young people who are talking about what it means to dismantle capitalism, what it means to dismantle the NYPD, like that gives me a whole lot of hope, right? Because it's showing that younger generations are listening, younger generations are paying attention, and they are not afraid to get involved and to do the work, right? We see young people use TikTok to organize and to talk about political issues. So seeing younger generations just grapple with things as 18, 19-year-olds, that gives me a whole lot of hope about the future of our country. And in our church, what is giving me hope in this moment, and at a time when I have a lot of desolation when it comes to the institutional church and our leadership. But what gives me a lot of hope is just being in community, to be perfectly honest, being in community with other Catholics, other Black and Brown Catholics like Dwayne, just engaging with the work of thinkers like Dwayne, thinkers like Shannon D. Williams, like Tia Noel Pratt, who I mentioned in the breakout space, just knowing that there are Catholics in the church who are really showing me what it is, what it means to think about this work, what it means to grapple with capitalism. I know I keep saying capitalism because I'm very new to this, but thinkers like Dwayne, like you have really, I just want to fangirl over Dwayne for a little bit. Like one of the reasons why I've been able to say, okay, I can publicly begin to say like, I'm new to this whole socialism thing, to this new, like, let's dismantle capitalism, is because thinkers like Dwayne, thinkers like Shannon, thinkers like Anthea Butler are doing that work and really letting me know that it is okay to grapple with this. It is okay to say, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm here to learn. So thinkers like Dwayne and being in community and spaces like this is also really helpful, because I spend a lot of time with my own thoughts and with really negative parts of our church and country, and just being able to sit with people and being in these smaller breakout sessions where we just talk about our faith and we talk about what's exhausting us, what's challenging us. That is what's giving me hope at this moment. So.
Thank you so much for that, and for making me blush at work. And I just want to note that the opinions of Collaborative Center personnel are not the opinions of the organization. Just kidding. So we end with, so this is our second public theology conversation, and the way that, we as sort of we're like conceptualizing this, and the way that we would sort of operate like pedagogically, right, is ending with, for our speaker, like a sort of question about hope, about a tangible hope that can ground us, despite, well, everything, but especially this year for many reasons rather. And then after that, we also, want to pivot to not just hope, but how an opportunity, a very concrete way in which you can sort of put your faith into action. And so as we mentioned earlier, the Collaborative Center engages in community organizing, and the primary outlet for that is for the Collaborative Center's organizing is with our partners in the Greater Hartford Interfaith Action Alliance, or GIA, which is an organizing collective of faith-based institutions in Hartford County. One of the campaign issues that one of our campaign issues is passing in Connecticut a clean slate bill, which would automatically expunge the criminal records of some people's criminal records. And to sort of put this in the context, thank you, Rachel. According to the FBI, 30% of American adults have some sort of criminal record. By age 23, 50% of Black men and 40% of white men will have been arrested. And even these arrests, even if these arrests do not result in a conviction, they do produce a criminal record which can haunt these people for the rest of their lives, locking people out of opportunities to meet their basic human needs. So, for instance, nationally, 90% of employers, 80% of landlords, and 60% of colleges use background checks in the recruiting process. And the Clean Slate Bill would automatically would allow people who've already been punished, right, to support themselves, to provide for their families, and to contribute to their communities. Right now, the state of Connecticut has a petition-based expungement process. And so, it is obscure, it is often arbitrary, whereas under Clean Slate, most misdemeanors and some felonies would automatically be expunged, after a period of time of remaining crime-free. And obviously, this is a racial justice issue, as Connecticut, just like the rest of the country, Black and Latinx folks in particular, but people of color more generally, are overrepresented in our criminal legal system. Poor white people overrepresented in our criminal legal system. And so, this is one of those dignity issues, those sort of more expanded, more generous accounts of dignity that Olga was talking about. And in the email follow-up, I'll share this link with you, but what is on the shared screen right now is just a link to the website for more information. We were campaigning quite successfully this year, but like a lot of successful things in 2020, it got derailed by the pandemic. And when the state legislature had to shut down, but it is coming back up in January, and we will be actively pursuing it. And so, like, one piece of advocacy, if you wanted to engage as a Connecticut resident right now, is to email your representative and say, one, that you're paying attention, right? That Clean Slate is coming back up. And two, that you want a generous and a robust and as inclusive as possible Clean Slate bill. Because what we don't want is, something that essentially that is so stringent that, it only helps a handful of people. So that is like one real concrete way that you can do some racial justice work right now after leaving this webinar. And so shout out to us, we are done a little bit early, but the end of in-person, presentations, panels, what have you, we want to open this up to just sort of informal conversation if you want to jump in and just sort of kibitz for a little bit. I know we have Olga for a few minutes over 5:30 as well, and I'm not going anywhere for a bit more past that. So again, thank you so much. I will be sending out, as I said, our website, our Facebook, our donation page, as well as the resources from tonight, and anything mentioned for these advocacy opportunities, that you can plug into right now. Thank you. And thanks, Olga. Round of applause.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you.